And Kayode, from political thuggery to organized crime, youths have been manipulated over time because of unemployment or illiteracy. What are those talking points? What are those issues you'd like to see addressed? And what would you like to see come out of this conference so it's not just another talk shop?
I think we need to look at the economy. Let's look at the countries where people are coming from. We're talking about Nigeria, Ghana, Ivory Coast. Yes, things seem to be bad in this country, but when we also look at the victims themselves. This is not about blaming the victims. How can a young man or a young woman be able to raise $10,000 to go on a journey of no return when we know that right here in some parts of this country with $200 you can start a small business? I think it's the issue of greed. It is the issue of these gangs taking advantage of our young, vulnerable people, promising them a better quality of life in Europe, where Europe is a closed society now. The right wing are taking control. It's also a matter of information. Our young people don't have the right information, don't have the right quality of access to information, so for them to know that you should not invest your money into a journey that would sort of pave way to lead you to an untimely death. It's also quite interesting. Let us take Nigeria, for example. There's crisis in Borno State where Boko Haram has taken control and is killing a lot of people. But you see, when you look at where most of these victims that are going through sub-Saharan Africa, it's not the border states of Sokoto, Borno, and what have you. It's people from, say, southern part of the country. So this is something we need to look into. There's organized crime, there's greed, and there are also a situation where the economists, people also are living for economic reasons. Nigeria and these sub-Saharan African countries also need to take responsibility for the death of our young people.
Well, I mean, it's hard to accept that it's just greed that is driving many young people out of Nigeria. I've seen lots of them on the streets of Europe, and when I speak to them, a lot of them tell me they are not ready to come back to Nigeria. I mean, life might be difficult here, but they don't want to come back to Nigeria. Do you think it's a question of greed, or do you think there is a problem with Nigeria and our economy and the way people are treated here?
I mean, of course, you're right. There's economic reason why people need to migrate. People migrate for different reasons, and economic is a legitimate reason to leave a country. But when you invest, say, $10,000 is a lot of money in some countries, or $5,000 to go on a journey, then it goes beyond survival. Of course, there are people who genuinely want to leave the country for a better society. I mean, people can live for any part of the migration is a legitimate means of survival. But when when you keep asking yourself that question, why is it that people in conflict zones, say maybe in a part of Nigeria, are not living, they are not migrating outside the country to Europe, they are seeking solace within the country? I think we need to also look at, take an holistic situation that even when the economic were right, people do migrate. But the danger of going through the North Africa with all the information available, with all the stories we hear, you know, is something we should look into. Let's take a look at a state like Edo State in Nigeria, where young girls are being shipped away by gangs who are called madams and bosses who just pay a lot of money, who get their parents to sell their homes, sell their beings to go to Europe. I think we need to take more responsibility. Yes, we need to condemn what is happening in Libya, but we need to look internally and resolve this crisis from within. If the economy is bad, we try to improve the economy, and we also not just think that all this situation is going to be solved by someone in Europe. Europe is becoming a desperate place.
All right, Kayode, if you'd allow me just butt in here, talking about looking internally now, let's also remember that there are people who have gone through these routes and have made it there successfully. I'm from Edo State, and I know of some ladies many years ago, though not recently, who went through that route and made it successfully there. So bringing it home now, what can the youths begin to do to advise themselves that it's no longer safe, or there are better things to do here, not just traveling abroad or to Europe to seek for greener pastures?
Well, we need to first empower our young people. Our young people are the most marginalized of all young people that have ever come across the world. They are very adventurous, they are energetic, they are creative, but they don't have the opportunity to sort of project the kind of energy that they have. So they start looking for other means of survival. I think a government must take responsibility, must empower the young people, provide small-scale finances to support their businesses,
Right.
to support their creativity would be better.